Hello, this is Marcus Sedberry, Senior Associate AD at Baylor University, here with Athletic Director U. Excited to have a conversation with Tom Burnett of Southland Conference. And we're going to have a conversation about leadership. You know, you've had a wonderful tenure at Southland over a couple of decades, and certainly things have changed over your time at the Southland. Can you talk to us a little bit about what are some of the things that you've seen over the course of your career?
Well, not quite 2 decades, but certainly there's no question, Marcus, there's been so much change. When I arrived, I replaced Greg Sankey back in 2003 when he went to the Southeastern Conference. And the world was very different then, certainly. When we look at the NCAA, we were in a different governance model. When we looked at membership across Division I, a lot different looking setup than we have today. That was really before all of the realignment set in. Right. So the landscape has changed, and certainly, as we know, there's so much changing as we even speak today. I mean, the things are going to change tomorrow, and it's just going to be one thing after another. But it's been a great run, and very privileged to be in the position I'm in.
Absolutely. With all of the challenges that athletic directors, chancellors, presidents are facing on a regular basis, how has your leadership and management style changed with it?
I think the position has changed. When I remember back to the early 2000s, this was a job that was really probably 85% competition. Issues such as scheduling, championship coordination, certainly compliance out of a conference office. It was really geared more toward the competitive nature of the business we're in. Certainly there was always a business portion of that, but now you grow over a period of time. You add staff, like any other thing in Division I. The growth in our league with membership and our staff, we went from maybe 4 staffers, now we have 12 staffers. So things are a lot different than they used to be. But, you evolve over time. I've got the great pleasure of working for, 13 bosses. Some people aren't sure if that's a pleasure or not. That's a lot of people. And get to work with 13 terrific athletic directors and their staffs as well. So, I think from a leadership standpoint, really, I think it's based in a set of core values that we have both for the conference and ourselves individually, as most people do. And really, it's about service. I mean, we are a service organization that is looking out for about 4,500 student athletes at our 13 schools, about 180 sports teams. So it's a terrific responsibility, but it's a labor of love.
Some people may not be as familiar with how conference offices work per se. So how do you find yourself making sure that the teams in the league understand the core values of the Southland and how you expect them to execute those? Well,
they're part of that process. They're really the ones, the membership is the ones that set the core values for the conference. And for us, it's really 6 different areas. It's excellence, which is fairly obvious. We want to do everything we can in an excellent manner. It's being student-athlete focused, as everyone can understand as well. Everything we do, we want to work with integrity. We want to be focused on diversity and inclusion in our conference. We want to be fiscally responsible as well. So there's a lot there that we have on our plate, but they were part of kind of setting the table, so to speak, for what we do as a conference.
Absolutely, which speaks to it not just being you, but it's really everybody in it together.
That's right.
When you think about the tenure that you've had and look at maybe some of the tenures of the athletic directors, the chancellors and presidents, not only in the Southland, but across the country, can you speak to a little bit about what are some of the challenges you see might be impacting tenure of some of these key leaders?
Yeah, it has changed. I think when I got this job in 2003, I had a group of presidents that really stayed together for about the first 5 or 6 years. And we were kind of the opposite. You'd start to hear in the industry, well, a president's tenure is about 5 years or less. That was not the case in our league. Then all of a sudden we went through rapid change in our conference, and we've had just a lot of turnover at the presidential level, and then most recently at the athletic director level. So, we're trying to do some things strategically, and that can be a bit of a challenge when the roster changes and some people leave who started your strategic process. But as a conference office, we've got to remember historically what the conference stands for, the people that were in the room previously, what they wanted us to do with the conference. So we're trying to stick with that, but it's always a challenge, certainly when there's change.
Yeah, it probably goes back to making sure you have those core values and that everybody understands.
That's right. Absolutely. Got to stick with it. Absolutely.
Right. That's right. So talk to us a little bit about some of the recent things that have gone on across the FCS. You know, we're all aware of the substantial push that we recently did to try to get ESPN Game Day to give a little more love to the FCS side of things, knowing that there's a great quality product there, but oftentimes we don't get a chance to see it. We know we see it, you know, the championship that we get to host in Frisco, that you all have done a great job of doing. What can division leaders continue to do or begin to do to really advance and enhance the platform that FCS has? Yeah,
those are some great points, and we're certainly proud of our role as the host conference for the national championship game. This will be year 10, hard to believe already, and the 9 games so far, 8 have been sellouts, and really proud of that, how we've kind of taken ownership of the end of the season as a conference and put on a great event in Frisco with our partners. So very proud of that. And, you know, you mentioned the recent FCS on Game Day push, and that's just kind of a neat social media opportunity for the subdivision. But you're right, there's a lot of pride at this level of football. You can be competitively successful. You can come to an FCS school and go on to play on Sundays. I think when I looked on opening day NFL rosters this year, there were well over 150 rostered players that played at the FCS. So that's about 3 NFL teams in its entirety. So we've got a lot of positives going on, and we've got a chance, again, to be competitively successful, to perhaps operate at a little smaller financial level to some degree. So I think that's been really important for the folks in this division. And then we have this great 20-team playoff at the end of the season that culminates here in Frisco, where we're headquartered, and again, very proud to be a part of that.
It's always an exciting game and a great environment, and so look forward to seeing you all continue to host that in the future.
Well, we've done it for 10 years. We've got another 5-year agreement, and we've just, again, got some great partners at Toyota Stadium in Frisco, the city of Frisco. Just a lot of synergy, really from day one with this event, and it's been a real pleasure to work with it.
Shifting gears, just thinking about the national landscape, there's been a lot of talk around name, image, and likeness, and how that might change the trajectory of college sports right now. When you think back over the last 10, 15 years, what have been some of those inflection points that have maybe changed the trajectory of the work that we do on a daily basis?
Yeah, great question. And, you know, I'd probably acknowledge we're I think, really kind of on the front end of a lot of this. You know, the new California law, we're all kind of soaking that in, trying to figure out what, how that might apply to all of us here. But, I think we've obviously all seen the growth at the FBS level, certainly at the A5 level. So that has been a real game changer. And we've also seen changes in cost of attendance. You know, there was some thought that, well, a lot of us will never be able to do something like that, and the Autonomy 5 will just go and do their thing, and the rest of us will just stick to this old model. But you know what? We're all in the cost of attendance business, and that has changed. So is this the next thing that comes that we're all going to have to adjust to? I still don't know what it means to the Southland Conference, to FCS overall, but certainly, here's an example. We have 12 Major League Baseball players that came out of our conference on end of the season rosters. Is it one of those type players that gets an opportunity with name, image, and likeness? I don't know that there's just even a handful of those kind of players at our level, certainly in our conference, but we just don't know quite what we're getting into yet. Now, the door's kind of cracking open. Some people refer to it as the slippery slope. So we're just going to have to wait and see. And I think certainly we have an obligation to make sure our membership is fully informed on anything and everything related to this. And we've got meetings coming up, so it's going to be very important for us to inform our members as to what's coming around the corner.
Absolutely. So we think about the things that happened in the past, the 8-5 you mentioned, and cost of attendance. Yeah. What were some of the things you did as a leader and that you all maybe did from a conference office standpoint to help your teams and your schools navigate some of those challenges and things that were happening in the industry?
Yeah, I think when the rubber hits the road and you've got to recruit against a lot of other people in your region, including some FBS programs, some of which we have successfully recruited against, maybe in the group of five, group of schools I'm speaking of. So, if all of those schools, those conferences are going to get on board with things like cost of attendance, perhaps broach the issues of name, image, and likeness in the future, do more digital television with, say, ESPN or other partners of that like, we've got to figure out a way to do it as well. And I think sometimes as the conference commissioner, I've got to be kind of the cheerleader in chief, and I've got to remind them that, this isn't about what we can't do, it's about what we're capable of. So that is a big part of my messaging to our membership. And, you hope it kind of takes hold. And I think to a large degree, we've been successful, not so much about what I've done, but it's just more of, what happens on those campuses and what we can collectively perhaps do as a group that goes into things with a different kind of attitude and perhaps not hung up on what we're not able to do.
Absolutely. Great advice there on how to navigate not only the challenges that we have faced, but some of the challenges that may come.
Sure.
So last question for you, just as you think back over your time as a professional working in this space, what advice do you have for leaders who are coming up in this generation about college athletics or leadership as a whole?
Well, I think it's very flattering to even be considered a leader. And I think to really turn that around, it's really about empowering others, whether they're on campus, they're down the hall from you on your staff, others you come in contact with. So, I have tended to be more of a behind the scenes, although the commissioner's always kind of out front, I guess, to some degree in that cheerleader in chief role. But I'm really interested in growing the people around us, certainly serving those student athletes, making sure that, their time in the Southland Conference is going to be looked back upon as, in a very fond manner, the best years of their lives, and it helped them go on to further success in the future, in the real world, so to speak. So, I again, flattered by the idea of being a leader and certainly work hard toward that, but it's really about helping others grow, get better every day. And in the Southland, we want to be better today than we were yesterday. And that can be challenging at times, but you want to keep moving the needle. And I think we've been given an opportunity to do that from our school presidents. And again, it's been a labor of love here in my 17th year, and look forward to a lot more.
Well, know that we appreciate the leadership that you have given to the Southland Conference. It's been amazing to see the wonderful things that you all have done, and know you'll continue to do so moving forward.
Great. Thank you, Marcus.
This has been Marcus Sedberry from Baylor University and Tom Burnett from the Southland Conference with Athletic Director U. Tom, it's been an amazing time talking with you.
Enjoyed it. Thanks.